Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. This is Maro. Today I have a Georgia replay I wanted to share with you. I got the ship maybe late last year for call. I believe it's available for call, 228,000. And I played it a few times and I really didn't like it. I know there were quite a few reviews out there and a lot of people that played it and really were singing her praises, but for me, she just wasn't doing it. So over that period since last year, I guess it's almost a year, I played the ship here and there, and I have to say that lately I've started to come around. I've started to enjoy the ship a lot more than I used to, which is a surprise for me because when I got Georgia, for me was the extension of the Massachusetts, which I loved and enjoyed playing. But then I got Georgia, I missed all the guns, and the maneuverability wasn't the same, and the speed would get me in trouble, and we just weren't clicking. But now, as I said, I am starting to see a lot more positives to the ship than I did in the past. So I will just provide a brief overview of the ship, how it compares to the other two US Tier 9 battleships, and then just comment on the way I play her, and the results that I've been having. So in terms of comparison, I'll start with the armor. And there are some similarities, but there are also quite a few differences between the three. In terms of Citadel, the positioning of the Citadel is the same. It's water level Citadel across the three ships. In terms of the protection in the front of the Citadel, I think Missouri continues to have an edge there. It has 297 millimeter plate versus 216 for Georgia and Iowa. So that's why Missouri is primarily a nose-in kind of a battleship. It has a lot better protection and it's able to withstand even more damage. In terms of back, and this continues to be a weak point for all three. The back Citadel plate is only 16 millimeters. So if something can find its way through her plating and the protection that she has in the back, she tends to be very exposed. As a result, Iowa and Missouri are really suffer from being kind of in a kiting position. And when I played Missouri specifically, in a lot of cases, I've experienced a lot of hits and a lot of damage coming that way. With Georgia, that's not the case, and the reason that that's not the case, despite kind of a similar build, is that the 300 and I believe 43 millimeter plating, or that's not really, you cannot see it when you look at the World of Warships, but if you go to Games Models 3D, you can see it in more detail. That's typically used for steering protection in Iowa and Missouri, and it's just a small kind of strip on either side around the steering to protect the steering from being knocked out. However, in case of Georgia, that strip goes actually all the way to the Citadel from steering on both sides and connects with the armor belt back portion of 343 millimeters and creates a triangle that makes it very difficult for any shots to make their way through just under the water level and then find a way to back Citadel. So in a lot of cases where I would kite in the ship, like I'm doing right here, right now, I found that Georgia is a much better position to actually able to withstand damage and take the damage than what I used to do in Missouri, where I was always kind of concerned and afraid when I'm doing this that it wouldn't work. And in case of Georgia, it actually works, and it's really an easy position to be in because of the protection. And given all the speed that the ship has, it's also easy to kind of control the range. Now, in terms of health pool, they tend to be all the same. Georgia is 74,100. Iowa and Missouri 79, 78,300. Torp protection tends to be low for this class overall. It's 26, 25%. So nothing really to write home about. I think where another big difference comes up is when it comes to guns, obviously. Now Georgia has 3 turrets, 2 guns each, so 6 guns, 18-inch guns. And Iowa and Missouri, 3 turrets of 3 guns each, so 9 guns, 16 inches. So fewer guns, and what used to be a big minus for me, because I'm not necessarily the best of aimers out there. So more shells, the better, starting with 12 and then working my way down. In case of Georgia, you only have 6 shells. Now, these are some of the most accurate guns in the game, or should I say, at least when it comes to tier 9 battleships. And there's a couple of reasons for that, right? One is horizontal dispersion, vertical dispersion. Another one is the angle fall, and then sigma, obviously. So in case of sigma, Georgia is 1.8 versus 1.9. So you would think that, oh, Georgia is not as precise. So Georgia is slightly less consistent where it places the shells, but the area where it places the shells tends to be smaller than in case of Iowa and Missouri. So when I looked at maple syrup stat site for World of Warships, and I just wanted to see in terms of damage and in terms of how popular a ship is, they also carry an accuracy ratio for the players that have played her and how accurate they were with the main guns. And Georgia is like 20% ahead of maybe Missouri and Iowa. And I think also looking at the pro ship side, she's pretty much top of the table. Initially, I believe Sovietsky Soyuz may be ahead, but then as the distance increases, Georgia comes out on top. So these are some accurate guns. You get to shoot them every 26 seconds. As a result, your DPM in comparison to Iowa and Missouri is maybe, I don't know, 15% less, 20% less. But in terms of accuracy, you come ahead. Also in terms of caliber, 18 inches, you're able to overmatch 31 millimeter. So a lot of cruisers, even higher tier cruisers that have side plating of 30 millimeters, they may, bounce shells from Iowa and Missouri, but they can't really do that when it comes to Georgia. So that's another advantage. Now, a slight disadvantage is the speed. The speed of Georgia's shells is slightly slower, so it's 732 versus 762, and in general, US shells tend to be slow, so something to keep in mind. But really, in terms of travel time and how the shells move, it's not that big of a difference. In terms of damage, every shell when it hits, it carries 15,750 AP damage. So if you hit a sit, that's the damage you get versus 13,500 for Iowa and Missouri. So something that you definitely the target feels when those shells connect. Now, in terms of the gun angle, Georgia is similar to Iowa and Missouri when it comes to the front firing angle, but when it comes to kiting and back, much better. So Missouri, Iowa are 38, 39 degrees, I believe, from the back in order for you to get all 9 guns onto the target, while Georgia is able to do that at, I believe, 31 degrees, so much tighter. And then the secondaries, which you can get up to 11.3 kilometers, this is one of the main reasons you would get this ship. Also, I think within 20 degrees, you're able to get all 5 of them. So slightly tighter grouping than even in case of Massachusetts, and I think even more so when it comes to kiting. So all in all, good guns, good secondaries, low rate of fire, but you make up for that with accuracy and each shell damage that you get from connecting with the target. Now, in terms of top speed, they're all 33 knot ships, except Georgia has a speed boost that grants it another 15% speed boost, and then with the speed flag you can get Georgia up to 39.8 knots, so almost 40 knots versus 35 knots in case of Iowa and Missouri. And this is super fast. This is destroyer fast. Actually, it's even faster than some destroyers. And it's very handy when it comes to repositioning the ship, you know, going up to either meet the enemy or hiding away from the enemy or just trying to get to the other part of the map to engage with the enemy. I found it to be really fun to have this ability to move in this ship with these guns that quickly around the map. So something I definitely enjoy. In terms of turning circle radius and rudder shift, it's ahead slightly in comparison to Iowa. So like 890 meters for Georgia versus 920 for Iowa and 990 for Missouri. And then in terms of rudder shift, 13.2 seconds for Georgia versus 17.1 for Iowa and 19.4 for Missouri. And that's one of the reasons that I'm liking this ship. I just could never really get around or get myself in terms with the slow rudder shift and a kind of just sluggishness of the Iowa and Missouri. And in Georgia, that's somewhat addressed, so it makes it a little easier. Now, base concealment is not there for the ship, and even with a full build, you're not gonna get as good of a concealment number as you will with Iowa. But the way that I played with the secondaries, I have to sacrifice that concealment anyway, so it's not as big of a deal for me. Now, AA, it's not as good as Iowa. It's passable. Tier 8, Tier 10, challenging. Now, she's not alone when it comes to that, but, it is something to keep in mind. In terms of heals, it has a standard US destroyer, US battleship, standard battleship heal, but it doesn't have the improved US battleship heal that Iowa has. Missouri doesn't get that either. So it misses on some of that. But nevertheless, I found the health pool that it has to be adequate, so not really a big concern for me. So how I play this ship in terms of build, it's really focused on. I have the upgraded repair party, so the one that lasts 28 seconds versus 20 seconds. I also have the upgraded speed boost. I think it's slot number 2, so it extends the length of the speed boost, which gives me even more mobility. And then it's really around maneuverability, concealment, and rate of fire. And then captain, I'm really using the, I believe it's the Massachusetts captain on her, which I'm not really sure it's the best thing to do here. I think the captain skills that I have could be improved, but given that it's a premium ship, I just never really reset the captain or made a unique captain for her. So I've been playing with the one I have, and as I said, the results have been good. So why change it? I guess if I was optimizing and were trying to get the most out of it, then I would definitely do it. Now, I mentioned the maple syrup WoW site, and I looked at it, but I also looked at it in terms of how popular the ship is and how well the players do in her. And I was somewhat surprised. In Tier 9, I think it's number 3 in terms of damage. Not just behind, but behind Musashi, Jean Bart, and then Georgia. Also, it's a very popular ship across the servers in terms of players, so I guess a lot of players already have her, and a lot of players enjoy playing her because they do have a lot of games on her. Now, it is interesting that I think the top 3 or maybe 4 battleships, including Missouri, in terms of damage, tend to be premium ones versus the Tech 3 ships. So I think on the North American server, Georgia's average damage is 80,000, Iowa's is 65 or 66,000, which is maybe something for our friends at the World of Warships to take into account. And I know they've been trying to boost, I guess, the US heal on the regular BB line in order to make it more competitive and so on. But I'm not sure what that says if the premium ships are kind of on top. That shouldn't necessarily be the case. But let's not spend too much time on that. As you could see in this game, it was a quick game. It kind of showed off some of the things that the ship does well: kiting, protection, secondaries, shells, AA to a certain extent. But I think speed, and I keep going back to speed, it just makes the ship very enjoyable to play. And if you do have coal laying around, you enjoyed secondary builds, then maybe you should consider Georgia and see if it's something that would appeal to you. So, game overall was a very good game. Not really a lot of kills, but I was able to get a lot of damage, be the top of my team, just over 2,000 points. I think most of my damage really came from that Pommern, where I traded really well, and then Buffalo and the CV. But I've had quite a few of these games where I had a lot of fun. So hope you get it and you take her out for a spin, and hopefully it's a positive experience for you as well. So good luck on the high seas. That's it from me. Maro out.